Hi, this is Chris Campbell, and welcome to the Food Institute podcast. Today, we'll be speaking with Ben Goodwin, co-founder, CEO, and formulator at Olipop regarding the beverage his company manufactures and the functional beverage space as a whole. But first, whether you are a first-time listener or becoming something of a regular, we ask that you share this episode on your social media platforms. It really helps us expand our reach, and we appreciate it when you do so. So with that said, I'll start off by asking Ben how he's doing today. So how are you, Ben?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Chris. Doing well. It is hot. I don't tend to do well in extremely hot weather, so I'm managing to my best of my ability. But yeah, it's coming along. It's been a long couple months here, and looking forward to a little relaxation at some point.
I'm going to say probably most of America can agree with the fact that it's been a couple long months here, but
Yeah,
I guess
yeah,
what we could jump in here with is,
100%.
yeah, Ben, can you give a brief overview of your own background and then also give us a little of a background on Olipop?
Yeah, sure. So I've been a product formulator for approximately 15 years. I've launched two beverage companies, Olipop being my second, and been involved with three of them. So basically, pretty deep background in beverage entrepreneurialism and product formulation. And really, a lot of my focus has been on digestive health and specifically this thing called the microbiome, which is we probably don't have time to get into today, but it's a really fascinating area of research. It's tied to digestion and human health. And Olipop is basically kind of the most advanced iteration of my 15-year journey into digestive and microbiome health and formulation. So kind of a lot of my background has been in probiotics and actually in fermented beverages and kind of fermented applications for digestive health. And there's still a lot of great stuff about fermentation. Probiotics themselves have taken a bit of a hit in the clinical literature. But then there's this new field of research really focusing on dietary intervention as kind of a mechanism for benefiting digestive health and benefiting the microbiome. And specifically fiber, prebiotics, and nutritional diversity kind of being these really big ingredient pillars that are missing from a lot of industrialized consumers' diets. And that's more or less what Olipop is designed to account for. So it's this soda style beverage. It's low sugar, low calories, really high fiber, high prebiotic counts with a bunch of different botanicals in it to help you with your digestive and microbiome health.
All right, so now that we have a little bit of an idea of what Olipop is, can you give us a little bit of insight into the inspiration that caused you to formulate this beverage, especially considering you already have a background in functional beverages to begin with?
Yeah, for sure. Well, kind of like I was communicating about before, there has been this meaningful sea change away from probiotics in kind of the clinical literature. I mean, when I try to figure out whether or not it makes sense to launch a company, especially a beverage company, which is an incredibly, intense occupation, one of the kind of foundational places I start is like, does this company need to exist? And one of the ways I try to figure that out is actually go and look at the clinical literature and see, what trends kind of are emerging or haven't been explored or being validated that are intriguing enough and could provide useful benefit to consumers. And so this, being that I do focus a lot in the digestive health and microbiome space, I was seeing this trend kind of away from probiotics. I mean, I think that we thought that probiotics were going to deliver all sorts of value that unfortunately kind of like never came to pass. There's a lot of kind of layers to that, but a lot of the kind of digestive health and microbiome researchers are really not seeing the efficacy there especially for consumers that already have a reasonably healthy microbiome. And simultaneously, there's another round of research that's kind of going on with indigenous hunter-gatherer groups. So groups that belong to kind of these, basically they consume food in the indigenous way that we humans were designed to consume over the last 2 million or so years. Those different groups have been studied in terms of their microbiome composition and their health outcomes. And basically, there's the research has kind of come together in a way where it's pretty clearly evidenced that the most sustainable way to benefit somebody's microbiome and digestive health is actually through this kind of dietary intervention. So switching over their diet, and then the key kind of pillars of this being this like fiber and prebiotic differential. So, for example, according to the FDA, average American gets 10 to 15 grams of fiber a day. They get 3 to 5 grams of prebiotics a day, and they get. I don't think this is an FDA status, another organization, but 80% of our food or so for the average American comes from like the same 20 different base foods, right? So meat, dairy, corn, soy, wheat, etc. And these indigenous hunter-gatherer tribes, who have way more abundant, healthy, robust microbiomes, digestive systems, lower outcomes of different undesirable health conditions, they're oftentimes getting 100 to 200 grams of fiber a day. They're getting over 100 grams of prebiotics a day. There have been certain pieces of research where they followed tribes members around and found that they can consume up to 1,400 different nutritional inputs per year. And so the diet differences are really, really significant. There's been primary research, which is just focused on these hunter-gatherer groups and taking a look at their diets and their health outcomes. There's also been translational research. So they've taken, hunter-gatherers and given them industrialized diets. They've taken people consuming industrialized diets and give them hunter-gatherer diets. And so there's really a robust well of research kind of compiling at this point that really points to these dietary shifts as being this kind of excellent mechanism for driving, positive changes in digestive and microbiome health. And then, for us, our thought process is just, well, if you have an issue that exists at scale and is meaningful enough to correct at scale, you want to put it into a vehicle that can deliver value at scale. And so soda is the most significant U.S. beverage, more or less, outside of the alcohol sector. And so we felt that this was kind of the perfect Trojan horse to put these really important compounds in, and that more or less came together to create Olipop.
So I'd like to focus on the health benefits a little bit more. So, what could a drinker of your product reasonably expect from the health outcome aspect when they ingest Olipop?
Yeah, well, Chris, as you might know, there are obviously, this gets into tricky territory, right? I mean, in terms of making definitive health claims around the
I
product.
definitely don't want to get you in trouble with
Yeah.
FDA, so we can keep it a little bit more broad for sure.
Yeah, but happy to talk about it, the positive attributes of the product in general. So each can does have 9 grams of dietary fiber in it, which is that kind of that ratio I was talking about earlier, where average hunter-gatherer is getting between 100 and 200 grams of fiber a day. Well, if we're getting 5 to 10% of that, you need I think it's advisable to increase fiber consumption, but you have to find the right way to kind of ratchet it up. So at 9 grams of fiber a can, we're actually clocking it at about 30% of the FDA recommended daily intake of fiber in one can of Olipop. Although, the WHO recommends closer to 30 to 40 grams a day. So their numbers are higher than what the FDA recommends. And then obviously there's these other pieces of research. But, the fiber is designed, fiber has a lot of different benefits, broadly speaking, from helping to stabilize blood sugar to helping to facilitate kind of healthy bowel functioning, for helping the distribution of nutrients into your digestive tract and into your body. And then prebiotics are basically a subset of fiber. They're special fibers that feed certain beneficial microorganisms that live in your microbiome in a targeted and definitive way. So there's fiber in the product. There's prebiotics in the product. We actually are working with suppliers that have done human clinical research around their ingredients. Some of them actually have like quite a bit of research that's gone into the product, into their ingredients. And then we also use a range of different kind of botanicals, which have either historical use or some compounds in them that are kind of known to be beneficial for digestive function overall. And then from our side, we actually are working with University of Purdue. We're also working with Baylor College of Medicine. So Stephen Lindeman, who runs Purdue's complex carbohydrates division, Joseph Petrosino, who heads up Baylor College of Medicine's microbiology division. Really excited to have them as partners. We're doing our own research with them on the product. We're doing in vitro research with those organizations. And we're really lucky to have their expertise as well. I mean, we picked their brain all the time, and we're really fortunate to have the ability to do that. We're also working with some other really great gastroenterologists, looking at some other research around the product. So there's going to be a lot of really exciting research news coming soon as well, and then I'll have an incredibly precise answer for you about what we suspect the product does. But for now, right now we're basing this kind of the health principles off of, these concepts around fiber, prebiotics, nutritional diversity. And also it's like the product is low sugar. It's 5 grams of sugar or less per can. So, if you are, we have actually found in a survey that at least 20% of our current consumers are already switching our product out for soda. So if you are drinking something that has 9 grams of fiber and 5 grams of sugar or less, and you're swapping out something that had 40 to 60 grams of sugar, obviously that's its own health win.
I'm glad you brought up the doctors that you were speaking about there. When I was doing a little research for this episode, I did notice that you had the 4 doctors on your webpage, and that kind of distinguished you compared to some other companies that I've done some research on. And I was just wondering if you could also give us a deeper view into what distinguishes Olipop from other functional beverages on the market currently.
Yeah, I mean, I think I do. Yeah, I appreciate the question, because I do think we have spent a disproportionately large amount of time working through the formula, and aligning with the research, aligning with academic researchers and medical professionals and dietitians that we think have really great viewpoints on, and our luminaries in their fields, in the kind of microbiome and digestive health field. And that's really, really important to us. I think there are a lot of products in the kind of wild west of kind of health and wellness that they slap a label on the package and they make a claim and everyone crosses their fingers and hopes it does something, right? That's a little bit, that's not the best environment for consumers. And there's something that can be a little bit disingenuous or even kind of like unsafe about approaching health and wellness in that way. And I think that we really believe if you're going to make health claims and if you really want to benefit people, you need to do the extra work to do your best. Like, no one's ever going to be perfect, especially if you're doing something innovative. You're going to have to take some risks and some chances, and that's just like part of the reality spectrum. But if you are working on something that is designed to help people, take it to the next level and try to get some reference the science or work with scientists, or basically be authentic in your approach. And so for us, I just think it was really important that we went down this pathway, because I'm really motivated. We're really motivated. We're kind of like trying to set up a new category, not just a new product. I think that the need for fiber, prebiotics, the need for these kind of varied nutritional inputs to benefit digestion and microbiome health, it's a really significant issue. I mean, according to the FDA, 2/3 of Americans have chronic digestive distress, and almost 2/3 of Americans have some sort of metabolic issue, with their weight, and my personal opinion is that those trends are also linked. So it's like the scale is, it's at mass. And so it's very important to us that we actually deliver on something that actually benefits people in a meaningful way. So I think that the health and research angle is a big part of it. And then I think, we have something that's extraordinarily tasty. And the kind of the branding is on point. We're really, we're really grateful that consumers have responded in a very positive way to our branding architecture, taste profile. And so being able to kind of merge those together, like I said, it's just meant to be a bit of a Trojan horse. We feel like if the kombucha market is $1 billion market and the soda market is a $60 to $70 billion market with 90% household penetration, we want to go meet consumers where they are, instead of shaming them or expecting a huge behavior shift in order for them to kind of engage with our product. So I think those two things kind of side by side are real differentiators for our product.
I think it's kind of interesting there that you're talking about, early adoption by consumers regarding your marketing. But I would imagine since you are competing with these larger beverage brands for that share of stomach, as we like to say here at the Food Institute, I was wondering if you could share a little bit of, some of the challenges that you've faced in marketing and even trying to get this product onto store shelves early on.
Yeah, I mean, setting up new distribution is always brutally hard, right? So that's just a reality check. I mean, we're in a really interesting space because we're astronomically growing this year, which and obviously doing that in the middle of a pandemic, which is like adds so many different extra layers of complexity to the situation. I would say that there are general difficulties with getting product on shelf when you're a new company, especially our product does require refrigeration. One of the prebiotics is sensitive to temperature, and so we actually do refrigerate this product, which that's pretty coveted shelf space. So that kind of comes with its own framework of challenges. The one thing that has happened for this product, for Olipop, which I'm just like it's partially obviously it's the desired outcome, but you also just have to cross your fingers and say thank you. But we've been lucky enough, really from the beginning, to have really really strong velocity on this brand. It's like almost staggering velocity, and basically when you're in any kind of environment, in any kind of distribution or sales environment, that's obviously, if not the most important metric, one of the most important possible metrics. And that strong velocity, plus the fact that we could, 99% of the time crack a can open, hand it to the buyer, and they actually enjoyed the product, has really paved the way for us a lot. It really has helped with our expansion in ways that sometimes it can be a little more of a struggle to kind of get on with. So I think that there's the general difficulties just intrinsic to the beverage landscape, startup landscape, to the cold box landscape. But within those intrinsic difficulties, I think that we've actually fared really well.
So I guess I have to ask this question because it is 2020, but and you did mention already that the COVID-19 pandemic has affected your business. So I'm just wondering, have you seen any kinds of ingredient sourcing issues? Are you seeing increased demand for more functional and healthier beverages because of the pandemic? Can you give us a little overview of how this may have shifted, your thinking and your operations in the last couple of months?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, great question, because definitely, of course, all of
Right,
the above.
exactly. Everybody,
Yeah,
everyone's
yeah,
dealing with it in their own way.
yeah. I mean, for sure. We were, again, this is another area where we were kind of, like, I think this is one of the byproducts of being such a kind of science oriented organization is, we were looking at the situation with COVID pretty early on, and really kind of reading that this is going to be a major issue. And I kind of, between David and myself, who's my co-founder, I kind of cover more of the ops side of things. So I, chatted to the ops team and basically rang the red alarm bell, really, really hard pretty early on. And, they were awesome in being really responsive to that. So we did we did start to kind of get out and put POs and forecasts together for double, triple the time. I basically just instructed everybody, like, I want to have everything purchased out for the whole year, more or less, because we don't even know what's coming down the pipe. So I think that because we were able to really get out ahead of everything on the supply side, we didn't run into ingredients shortages, but it's very easy to see how it could have happened, especially on commodities like juices, which we use a range of different juices. As a smaller purchaser, if everyone's obviously has a run on the juice market, then you're going to have, and you're a smaller company, then guess what? There's not going to be any juice for you. So, so there was a certain amount of that. I would say that, the biggest thing that we, from a supply chain side, and this was already a problem before, but it definitely has been exacerbated, is really, our product's in a can, and the aluminum can situation right now is like a nightmare. It's such a nightmare. I just wish So there's, Ball, Ardagh, and Crown are the three big can manufacturers. And like, I just like, for the life of me, I don't understand why. I think Ball is finally investing in a new can, like smelting or can production plant or whatever. But the demand for cans has just been going up and up and up for years. But they're, these factories that build that make the cans are like 70, 80, 90 million dollars to build, and they take multiple years to build. And so they're really big investments for these companies, and they're conservative companies. But so basically, it's put such a squeeze on the whole can market, and with a number of these different, people not going out to restaurants, so they're not using on premise, they're not using kegs as much. A lot of these kind of bigger beer companies and soda companies are pulling more cans, and so since there was already a squeeze on the market, now there's even more of a squeeze on the market. So that has actually been a pain in the ass, and something that we've had to navigate our way around on the supply side. And but we're lucky to have a really good broker, and we've been able to kind of keep it all moving pretty well despite that.
I'm glad to hear that it's moving pretty well. And I guess as a final question, if one of our listeners right now is intrigued, they want to actually go grab themselves a can of Olipop, where could they go today to pick up one of your products?
Yeah, thanks for the plug. We're at drinkolipop.com, OLIPOP. And then you can, all of our social is more or less Drink Olipop. And then, we're expanding really rapidly as well in the retail environment. We went national with Sprouts this year. We're going national with Whole Foods this month. We're actually going national with Kroger this month, and a bunch of other really great retailers. So, and retailers, really need your in-person support right now. So we highly recommend you drop on in. But there's a store locator on the website as well. So if you want to order direct from us online, you can do that, or you can find them in the wild near you.
Well, that sounds great. We'll definitely share the relevant links in the description of this podcast episode. And I think that about wraps it up for us this week on the Food Institute podcast. So once again, I'd like to thank Ben for his time today. And remember, if you're new to the Food Institute podcast, please follow, like, and share. If you'd like to learn more about the Food Institute, please take a look at the links in our description to learn more about us and what membership could do for you and your company. So until next time, this is Chris Campbell signing off.